Hi, True Avatars, and welcome to your weekly queer video game podcast. This is an extra bonus episode, and I'm your host, Zoe Wild. I'm a transgender bisexual woman, and I'm really fucking tired, and my pronouns are she, her. Today we're going to be talking about some of the LGBTQ plus demos we've been playing as part of the Steam Next Fest, as we try to persist through our lack of sleep. These games have all the demos available right now, and will be available until Monday, June 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We're recording this podcast on Thursday, June 12th, the evening. If I'm a good girl and I get the editing done tonight, it will go up tomorrow morning on Friday, June 13th. Oh, it's Friday the 13th tomorrow. All right, everyone watch a horror movie. Mm-hmm. But if you're listening to this podcast as before the end of the weekend, the demos are still available. Generally, they expire at the end of Steam Next Fest, although a few of these demos I think were available beforehand, so they might still be available at the end of Steam Next Fest. But it remains to be seen, so don't rely on that. If there's something you want to play, go play it right away, and they're also pretty short. Although to be honest, all of the demos I played were actually longer than the usual Steam Next Fest demos. But anyway, that is enough rambling from me. I'm going to actually introduce my guests now, who are sitting there trying not to giggle as I bumble my way through this introduction. First off, we have Ekamy, pronouns she, her. Hi, Ekamy.
Hello.
And Lloyd Lloydster, pronouns he, him. Hi, Lloyd.
Hello, Zoe. Hello.
So, we're just going to get some housekeeping out of the way super quick, and we're going to jump into this. If you like this podcast, please leave a comment or review on your preferred podcast platform. I know Spotify has ratings and comments, and Apple has reviews. True Avatars hasn't been reviewed at all on Apple yet, and I know like 40% of all my True Avatars are listening on there, so I know I can see you. I know you're listening. Reviews help grow the podcast, and growing podcast means a happy podcast host who is forever happy and fulfilled while she gets no sleep trying to make the podcast. That's not to guilt, actually, listeners. I just didn't get any sleep this week for many reasons. And a growing podcast means I already read that. You enjoy I was like, you know what? Just subscribe and shit, okay? Just subscribe, comment, engage with the podcast. Let me know that you like it, okay? And follow us on social media, all right? We have accounts on all the social medias.
Yeah.
You know the social medias. You know the ones. We don't have Snapchat. I don't know. Do people still use Snapchat?
Do people still use Snapchat? Is that showing our age?
I just had flashbacks. Oh my goodness.
I had when I was making a short film in film school, I had one kid on my set because the stars were kids, and so one of the girls on the set was like, "Oh yeah, Snapchat. We don't use Snapchat anymore. That's for 17-year-olds." And I think she was 15. She's like, "That's for 17-year-olds." And I was like, I was already like 21, and I was like, "The fuck."
Okay, child.
I think I don't know if they still use it, but Be Real or something like that. I heard about it once, and it's like, I don't know if that's the thing, but you take a photo whenever it tells you to, and it uses your front and back camera. I'm not sure if that's the one I'm thinking of, but when a youngin' told me about it, I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Did you, is this Snapchat, or did you say it's called Be Real?
Be Real.
I think it's Be Real. I don't, it might even have come and gone. I don't know. It was a couple years ago now.
Cool.
And here I thought TikTok would be dead and gone at this point, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's how we're going to do this today, because we are very tired from being ourselves, and June is a very busy month for everyone, and also it's very busy for the games industry, and I actually spent a lot of time making last weekend's podcast, and I'm very tired. And then Saturday morning, I'm recording another one with Amy Lynn. And then thankfully after that, it's kind of like easy because like half the podcast for the week after that's already recorded because it's an interview. But anyway, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the 9 demos, and then we're going to talk about an extra bonus one at the end. But we're going to take turns. So, Ekamy will go first, Lloyd, you'll go second, and I'll go third, and we'll go in that order until we go through each of our 3 demos. So there's a total of 9 demos, and then the 10th one at the end. So, Ekamy. And we're going to try to stick to, we'll try to be short. So like between 4 to 5 minutes for each demo. That way everyone, gets a little bite-sized taste of what we're talking about. And also we don't suffer. So, all right, Ekamy, go ahead.
So I'll start with Date Everything, and then we'll move on. So Date Everything is, if you've heard of it, it's a sandbox dating simulator set in the comfort of your own home, where you get to romance and date your furniture in humanized form. It features a lot of different voice actors from, mostly I know them from like anime, and also there's a couple of like Critical Role, I think, voice actors, and there's like Brennan Lee Mulligan from Dimension 20, all that good stuff. It was very fun. You basically it starts off very comical. You're, in a bit of a sarcastic, odd way, you start off like with a lot of hope for your corporate bullshit job, but they fire you the same day that you're hired, basically. And then you're like, well, shit, what do I do? Like, I don't have a job. Guess I'll date my furniture. Because you get delivered these like special glasses, and then you can see people Sorry, you can see your furniture as humanoid people. So, yeah, you just get to meet each of them. They all have kind of punny names related to whatever piece of furniture they are. I spoke with the fireplace, the bed, the piano, the record player, my own glasses, and like a bar cabinet or something. Anyway, it was very cute. You can set your pronouns at the beginning of the game, and there's a wide variety of just characters with different pronouns that you can romance. I just thought it was a lot of fun. Highly recommend if you're a fan of like comedy kind of date games like Monster Prom and things like that.
Yeah, actually, so the game I think is coming out, next week. I want to say, like, the full game launches very soon, but
June
I
17th.
did on the social media, all the socials for True Avatars, or at least Blue Sky and Twitter. I've kind of given up on the other ones this week. Mm-hmm. It's a lot to update, but I did compile all the review scores, and it's getting really good reviews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so unsurprising.
Yeah, it's highly anticipated when Ekamy says a lot of voice actors. That's a very polite. I think it's like 100 fully voiced characters.
I would not be surprised. Yeah,
the selling point for it. And if there's a voice actor you like, they are probably in it. Like,
oh yeah. So yeah, check it out.
Is it player sexual?
It is. I don't really know because I didn't get very far with any of the furniture. Like I think you could like some of the furniture, like they also kind of have their own preferences in terms of like, I really value friendship, or I really want a romance and be sensual, right? Like the first character that you meet, who is the front door, is more of a friendship kind of guy. Like he's like, I value your friendship. So you can still romance them, but they're...
Really, the front door is like... Yeah. Inside him, though.
He's also voiced by Ben Starr, which just
nice.
made my heart pitter patter. So, yeah. So there's like, I think they all have their own preferences, but I do think you probably can date all of them. You can also choose to, instead of either be friends or romance them, you can also choose to make them hate you, which I don't know why you would do that, but you can.
Sounds like a challenge.
I know. That's like a hate run, right? Like you just do different runs.
While you were describing it, I was thinking about, dating your furniture, and you mentioned a few appliances that are in Brave Little Toaster, and I'm just thinking that's the crossover I either do really want to see or really do not want to see. For anyone who hasn't seen Brave Little Toaster, it's kind of like Toy Story except with appliances instead of toys.
I have to watch it.
It was made by the Pixar people before they made Pixar. And the scary air conditioner. Can you date the air conditioner and date everything? I want to date the scary air conditioner. Okay.
Well, I know you can't date the... Oh, no, you can't date the thermostat. I tried. I was sad. Nothing happened. I clicked on it.
Maybe it's just not in the demo.
Probably. Yeah, that was the thing that I thought after. I was like, you know what? Because, like, I can select it. So I feel like if you can select it, you probably can, like, talk to them. But yeah.
All right, Lloyd, do you want to talk about some gay clouds?
Okay. So, for anyone who's not in our private DMs, we were talking about which demos we wanted to play, and Zoe had given some suggestions, and the game is Rainbow Cloud, but I just screamed in all caps, gay cloud, gay cloud. Everyone knew what I meant, I think.
Except Ekamy. Ekamy was confused.
But yes, Rainbow Cloud by Baruda Studio. This font is tiny on my notes. I did a really good job. Anyways, there you go. I just Baruda, Berutta. I'm just gonna read the Steam description because I'm not gonna do it justice. It's an action role-playing game set in the medieval world where you can complete quests, defeat monsters, and romance many handsome male NPCs. This demo includes the content of the first chapter of the game. Oh, don't mind me. So that's the demo's out now, and it says coming soon for the actual game. So what me reading that out loud doesn't do for you is you don't see all of the beautiful men that are in all of their promotional photos in the videos. It's everything I've always wanted in like equality in scantily clad fantasy.
Nice.
As one does.
As one does, right? And so I was really excited, booted up the game, like saw like this beautiful like pixel art that was like really retro, And as they're zooming in on these like two beautiful specimens of just beautiful people, and there's like the text goes across the screen, does God really exist in this world? While I'm seeing just like two beautiful pairs of asses, and I'm just like, this is a lot. This is a lot to take in right now. And it's just like, once you acclimate to the to the situation, it's a really beautiful game.
Once you can really take it all in.
Once you take it all in, once you realize you're here and this is what's happening, the characters are beautiful. I'm not going to get too much into the plot, even though they do like reveal it all pretty quick. But you're King Asriel, I suppose, and you're being confronted by Carlos and Soldero, and they've basically been torturing you, trying to figure out where you got the power to slay gods. And you don't know a lot yet as a player, but you're like, okay, cool, this is really neat. And then the game, it's your standard tried and true scroller platformer. Character models in game, which I thought was really interesting. They're kind of rounded and have like a three-dimensional kind of texture to them. For people who make games or know anything about games, you probably would know exactly what I'm trying to describe. But I thought it was an interesting design choice because the background is all like pixel arty and very like retro-y. So to combine those two, I thought was really interesting. But that is that's basically the game, and I didn't get super duper far into it progression wise. I played about like 20-ish minutes of it, and it got to some platformer parts that just go against all of my weaknesses as a person with minimal hand-eye coordination. But it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and I kept being like my third eye from like 90s gaming kept being reopened when different like elements would pop up, because when you open the first chest, you get like a pile of gold coins, and the icon for it is kind of like it's like a photorealistic stylized thing, and it brought me right back to like Might and Magic or like some of the earlier RPG games that the game itself isn't super realistic, but like your portraits of your party members looked like actual photos. So kind of like it has a lot of really interesting elements that I want to know what's happening with the story too.
Okay, so my first game is Unbeatable. So I've been talking about this for a while. The game itself isn't really inherently queer, but the game's half of the band that does the music is called Peak Divide. And half of that band, it's two people, and one of them is a trans woman, Clara Maddox. The music slaps. The music is so good. Do the kids still say slaps? The music is really good in this game. But if you're curious about what the game is really like vibe-wise, the best description I can come up with is that it's kind of like Persona meets Scott Pilgrim meets Kill la Kill. So if anyone knows those three things, this game is like the perfect hybrid of those three things, and it's a rhythm game. So it's a rhythm RPG, so it's not like traditional battles, but you're gonna enter a battle with like cops, for example, and you're gonna be punching them to the beat, basically. And there's an arcade mode too. I found the cops punching to be really difficult. I could never get the timing right on the Steam Deck. I'm not sure if it's just because it's a demo. I'm not sure if it's just because I'm bad at game. I'm not sure, but I was playing the arcade mode, which I found significantly easier. And it was really like a lot of fun. The music was great. The gameplay was really fluid. Like basically, the challenge comes from like your character's either punching low or punching high, and the triggers depend, are you punching high or are you punching low, right? So I think the R is low and I think the L is high, and at first it really took some getting used to. Yeah, it was really fun. I played for an hour. Most of that was just in the arcade mode because I was just having so much fun, and there's already like a ton of songs unlocked in the arcade mode for you to try. I think maybe more than 10 if I counted correctly. And yeah, like, I don't know, I just like, there's like elements of Kill la Kill, like the good stuff, not the creepy, rapey stuff that's in there. And then, yeah, there's some Scott Pilgrimness to the characters and to the world. And then, yeah, like a lot of the gameplay feels a little bit like Persona as well. I didn't personally think that, but I was reading that other people compared it to Persona, and I was like, I can see where people are coming from with that. So, I think this one is going to be a hit. And I think the demo, actually, I was reading, I have to confirm this, I'm going to look this up now, but I think the demo is actually available elsewhere besides Steam. I think the demo's been around for a little while. I think it's on PlayStation. Let me just look this up.
Yeah, I remember seeing... Oh, go.
Sorry. No, cool.
I remember seeing a little
Sorry,
bit
it's on
of
PlayStation. It's on PlayStation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I remember getting excited seeing a little like sneak peek at one of the tracks that played in one of the showcases. I can't remember which one, but I was like, oh yeah, like I remember watching and being like, is this unbeatable? I'm pretty sure this is unbeatable because I missed the beginning of the showcase or whatever. But yeah, I'm super pumped. The like you said, the music is really, really good. So yeah.
And it's really funny. It's really, really clever. The same way Scott Pilgrim is clever.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I was gonna say I wasn't expecting to hear punching cops is difficult.
I still wanted to do it, but the game is even on the easiest mode because I tried it out the easiest difficulty, and like if you fail a bunch of times, like if you fail like 5 hits in a row, the game like this is the only thing I don't like about the game is that like it's very quick to like knock you out of the battle. Yeah. If you miss a few punches, you're out. And then I don't know if it's just because it's the demo. I don't know if this is by design or what, but every time I lost the final boss fight in terms of the demo, right? I got booted back out to the edge of the island where your like hut is, like your base of operations. And so every time I lost, I would have to like, it would like load out, like it would load, and then I'd be back at the house, and then I'd have to like go through a bunch of loading screens as I like make my way through the island back up to the top to get back to the cops to get to that battle. Okay. And that was a pain in the ass. But aside from that, and those are things I think they could probably fix before the release comes out if that's what their plan is. It didn't deter me from enjoying the game. It was just a quality of life feature I think could be worked on. I think the game was really fun. It was really like it opens with like the two bad guys, like the two henchmen, which are women, the henchwomen, and their boss, who's also a woman, like she's girl bossing it up, like she's gaslighting, she's, you know, what is it, gatekeeping, girl bossing, you know, and they're all just kind of like awful bitchy women, and they're just like having the time of their lives hunting kids, basically. I mean, one of them's a kid, but like they're basically talking about the main characters, so you're getting a sense of who these characters are through the eyes of the villains. And the person who's like, the villains remind me, and they even mentioned, this is where Kill la Kill kind of like clicked for me, is they mentioned like something like Elite Four. They don't call them Elite Four, but I was thinking like, oh yeah, and Kill la Kill, they call them the Elite Four as well. Yeah. So I was thinking like the bad guy reminds me of like both the mom and the daughter in Kill la Kill. And then her henchwomen also kind of remind me of some of those bad guys as well.
I was going to ask if anyone reminds you of Gamagori, the big man, the man whose size is just bigger than you constantly.
No.
Ah, boo.
But there's lots of interactions with the cops where they're complete dicks, and you're kind of like,
nice.
They're like, you can't go here, and she's like, well, why not?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just like back and forth, like bullshit conversation that's just so funny. So
nice. I love that. Cool. Cool, yeah. So the second game that I played is called Frame of Mind, and the subtitle for that is A Game of Thoughts. I mentioned that because there's another game on Steam called A Frame of Mind, and I spent probably, I shouldn't say a specific amount of time. I spent a while trying to find this game because I forgot the subtitle. But it was really good. It was a very different vibe than Date Everything, and I played it like basically right after Date Everything, so I kind of wish that I like went into it either on its own or just like, you know, if I had a better idea of like the mood of it, because it is a very somber kind of game. Just to kind of summarize it briefly from Steam, it's a brief and cozy narrative game that lets you explore a character via thoughts and mementos you find in stages of their life. It's an introspective game meant to share some experiences a peer group of neurodivergent queers, including the dev, had growing up, which is pretty cool. I really was interested in that when I read it. And the game itself is very much like a point and click. You're first person POV. You're walking around, like the demo kind of takes place in one room in your bedroom, and you're clicking different things. And as you click on, you know, like pieces of paper or posters or whatever you can click, then a voice actor comes on and kind of tells a story about the item that you're looking at. There's only about like 6 items you can look at in that case. But then each of them, after you have that prompt, you're then prompted with a series of sticky notes, which you can say like, how did this make you feel? And you can pick one. And then when you gather all of your notes, all of your thoughts at the end, you put them all together and link thoughts together. And then you create a picture of how your character feels. And your character does feel like a specific way. Like you can say like, I want these notes to go together. And maybe at the top it'll say, your character agrees with 6 out of 8 of these. You can still move forward, But if you want to get all 8, you can, flip more around and see what you can do. So, and I will say it is a very emotional demo. In the demo's case specifically, the story is a story of a of a trans man and their transition to become trans. So, and there are some really like emotionally kind of rough parts. So just if you're interested in playing the game, I just wanted to give that as a heads up, as like, I guess a bit of a, just idea of what to expect. And if that, I don't want anyone to feel triggered or anything. So, wanted to mention, but I really liked it. It was like somber, but kind of nice. Like you're like there are parts of joy all amongst the parts that are more emotionally like kind of downtrodden. And I think it'll be a really interesting game. I get the feeling that maybe it's not a very long game. But I guess we'll see. I think the game itself actually did release, recently, I think, or no, I'm sorry, it's coming. Sorry, the demo came out in March. That's why I was thinking of it. The game is going to release 2025. In Q3 2025. Yes. So yeah, check it out. I quite enjoyed it. I've got it on my wish list, so I'm excited to see where that goes when the full game comes out.
Nice. The next game I played was Summer Haze Glory Days by Yam Harvest Games, and it takes place in 2007, and I had very like Warped Tour-esque vibes from the whole thing. You were part of a band. The whole game is essentially you're on tour. You're on this big tour. The name of the tour is Friends and Foes. And what I really loved was at the beginning, it hit you with 2 sort of notices or alerts. The first thing that it gives you is you're immediately faced with a notice that informs you, yes or no, do you agree to not use any of the assets or audio or anything from this game to inform an AI model. And I was like, oh, cool, sick, based, love it. Okay. So I was like, what happens if you hit no? Like, I was just kind of curious what it would do, but I for some reason, I was just like, nah. if it uninstalls the demo on me or self-destructs. And then right after you interact with that, you say, yes, you interact with that. Then the next thing, I loved this, was it says some of the voice lines in this game contain strong language. Would you like to censor them? And I thought that was really cool. Okay. It's like right up there with like content warnings, and I played
further.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And just the effort of having to edit or whatever sound mixing they had to do for it, because it was like the classic like live TV beeps, which added to some of the humor of it and like the kind of like time capsule-iness of it for me. And it's really funny because the very first line of dialogue that comes off is just drops, and I was like, oh, okay. All right. We're in. And so loved that. Let's see. What I thought was really cool was it was a mix of digital drawn art with what looked like highly textured photographs. Because as soon as you get through the beginning and you make your character, pronouns, voices, it lets you pick from 4 different voices, and like 8 or 9 different hairstyles. I thought it was really cool because they actually had some textured hairstyles in there, which you don't usually see, especially when you have limited character creation options. And another thing about character creation that I've almost missed, and I'm really glad I didn't, to talk about here, is instead of just pronouns, it let you pick your pronouns. It lets you pick how people refer to you, like the like sort of like gendered. I'm trying to think of examples, but my brain's not working well. But it's just kind of like in regular language that isn't pronouns. It let you pick whether you wanted
like sir, madam, like honorifics.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, and it had that, and then it had another option that was like, hey, how do you feel about gender neutral use of bro, dude, and guys? And I was like, yo, having all of this broken up into so many options, I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me get Concerned Ape on the phone.
It can be done. And that was really cool. I was like, wow. And I've never seen it broken up that much. Usually games will end it at pronouns and that's it. So that was really cool. I feel like there was a fourth gendered thing it asked, and my brain is having a moment, but play the demo yourself and you'll see. So that was sick in a cool way. And so you open up and you are, it's an image. It looks like someone literally took it at Warped Tour or something. Maybe this isn't a photograph that they stylized, who knows, but that's what it looks like. And so immediately you're set, you're set up, you got the characters kind of talking to each other, and you're in a band, and everyone seems to hate each other, but that's like the classic band story, and you're on tour with them, so it's you get kind of sick of each other, but you can what I really liked was it gave you you have a ton of agency as the player. You can pick whether you're the peacekeeper, sort of. It's not like obvious, but there's dialogue options. You usually get like 3 or 4 dialogue options each time, which is very generous in my opinion. And I don't know how much I don't know how much of a change it makes on the game, but it definitely, the next line of dialogue that gets given back to you is directly influenced on what you pick. So I don't know what long-term consequences are, but you had a lot of agency. You could really have a lot of control over your personality, and you could be flirty right off the bat. You could not be, and I was very distracted because the first person that they sort of introduced as a potential, like, you could romance them. It gave you options to say if they were attractive to you or not. This is how you could tell I was a little tired. My note for them was Emerson ? Pretty, beautiful, radiant, in a bioluminescent mushroom kind of way. I'm just gonna let it.
I beg your pardon?
He had dead, soulless eyes, and sometimes that gets me. And so it's a thing. What was I? Yeah. But what I did really like about it was I got to a point where you could start deciding. Some of it was your own dialogue with yourself. It was like an internal monologue. You could decide if you were attracted to him, or like you could decide sort of the intention behind why you kept kind of keeping up with him. And one of the internal monologue options was you could decide, this isn't the first time I've been obsessed with a boy, or kind of, I've never been obsessed with a boy before. And I really liked that those were there, because whether or not you picked a masculine or a feminine character in any mix of the sense, that would give you so much control over a very different direction storytelling wise.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool. But yeah.
Cool.
I think that's really cool. I like all those options. And I'm also not trying to reduce how simple it is to insert and put all of these options in. Like, I'm sure Concerned Ape, if he could, he would. But I'm mostly making a joke in case any developers listen to this and be like, Zoe, that bitch, she has no idea how fucking games are made. How dare she? So I know I'm not a game developer. I'm not even going to pretend to be a game developer. I just like having options in my video games. So this is really cool. All right. I will go next, unless Ekamy has anything to say about that.
I was just really impressed by the whole like gendered I guess like when you refer to like when you use dude or something. I was like, that's really interesting. I haven't seen that. I've never been to Warped Tour, but my partner has, and I just want to play this demo because I want to know what Warped Tour is like. So I'll play it. You've convinced me.
Also, this trailer is like looping here on the Steam page, and there's one frame where like those colorful, like kind of like sugar frosted gummy worms are like, the ones that have like blue and they're like green on, like they have like 2 different colors.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, they're very nostalgic. I just saw those and I was like, oh, those are good. I miss those.
They
I had a music
the
teacher
time
that would
really
give
well.
us ones if we got a question right. She would like let us pick out a gummy worm.
That's
How
cute. I love
those,
that.
yeah. All right, so my next demo is called Soulblaze, and I was talking about this last weekend. Actually, all the games I picked, I talked about in the podcast last weekend. But this one is called Soulblaze, and this one, and I buried the lead on this one, actually. Buried the lead? I've never been sure about that expression. But anyway, I kind of like didn't really pitch what the game is, because I was like, oh, it's like Pokemon with some queerness to it. I was not able to verify in what way this game was queer at all. However, it is Pokemon if Pokemon was a roguelike.
Huh.
So each time you play the game, you're going to go through a run, obviously. and you're gonna be able to pick each path. Like, you get like a patch of grass, and then after that patch of grass, the path branches it 2 ways, and then you can pick like, okay, the next path goes to another wild patch of grass, and then the other path goes to like a Pokemon Center. It wasn't called that. I'm just calling it that so people know what I'm talking about. So anyway, each run you'd get like maybe, I think it was about 7 to 10 of these things in the path, and then at the end of each path there'd be a boss, and then if you beat the boss, you got to go in the next part of the run. I don't know if this game has a big difficulty spike. Because first off, the game is super fun. The first run I did, I was like, I don't get what I'm doing here. And then I started to like clue in. Okay, I was like, if I go into this menu, I can find this. Every time you battle, there's like 4 types instead of 18. And they're not based on elements. They're based on like wisdom and stuff like that. I don't remember what all of them were, but, the creatures you can capture, they're called Animons. The Animons that you can capture, I think we're all under wisdom or like the basic one, which I also forget the name of. But anyway, I'm underselling it by saying I don't remember anything. I'm just like, my brain is like really tired right now, but I had a lot of fun. So as I was figuring it out, as I was figuring it out, there's like patches of grass, there were Pokemon centers, there was vending machines, there were trainer battles, and for the most part, as I was figuring it out, and this is what I wanted to say, sorry, I'm all scattered. Each battle, not only were there like types, but each turn you have dice that get rolled. And then you can apply those dice, the numbers on those dice, you can like use your attacks, like spend them to use your attacks. So let's say you have an attack that costs 3 and you roll 3 on your die. Then you spend that 3 to use that attack. And then you get 2 dice. So let's say you roll another 3. And then you can also, if you don't like the numbers you got, you have like a finite number of rerolls for each like Animon. Right? So like the jellyfish one had 1 reroll every turn. And then the basic one, the like dog, he had 2 rerolls. And then if you got matching dice numbers like 3 and 3, you got an extra reroll. So if you didn't, if you wanted to spend everything accordingly, you could. So there was like some strategy involved in there, and I really liked it. So as you're going through, you're like unlocking TMs, like attacks. They're like, I forget what they are. They're like cassettes or something. I couldn't actually tell. Again, very tired. And then, there's like trainer battles and there's all these other things. And at the end of the run, you get to a boss. I found everything up to the boss to be very, very easy. It was manageable. I was like, okay, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. I'm like conserving resources. I have like lots of it. Like, they weren't called potions. They were called something else, but I'm comparing it to Pokemon. But aside from being Pokemon roguelike, that's where the similarities really end. Then I get to the boss. I could never get it below 6 HP. It always started with 47, and like my first attack would always just like obliterate it. Like, it would take out 10 HP, and then it kept like giving itself a shield. And so I'd have to like break through the shield, and then I'd have to like damage it. And then eventually it would like, the dice it would roll enough to use all 4 of its attacks in 1 turn. And I would get obliterated every time. So I don't know if that's like by design, or I'm just bad at the game, or the game like needs some like work to like fix that difficulty spike, because like there's more runs after that. Like, you just keep going in the path until you lose, right? Because it's a roguelike. So I'm wondering if like, is it supposed to be that difficult on the first boss? Like, that seems a bit tough. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. I'm excited for the full game. And actually, it was really cool because they were having an event in the game where if all the players playing caught 100 of these jellyfish, they would add the jellyfish to the main game.
Oh, so, that's cute.
I think they should still add it, but I could see, like, when I started, the number was at 12, and when I was done, the number was at 20. And I think I caught 5 or 6 of them while I was playing, so I was like, hey, cool. I can see, I'm the one making that number go up, and I thought that was so cool.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
That's neat. I love that. That kind of reminds me of the metric that the Ghost of Tsushima developers did when they were like, "Hey, thanks for playing the game. Did you know that X number of players have pet the fox?" And I was like, "That is the best metric I've ever." And so, like, and I played a bit with my friend, and I was like, "We pet the fox. We're a part of that." That's cute, though. I like that.
I'm watching the trailers loop, and I am just overwhelmed. This looks really cool, but there is so much moving on this screen. Like, does it just automatically do its thing, or do you have to manage a lot of it?
You have to manage a lot of it, and it's not as difficult as it seems. Like, obviously, you have to learn how. It's like any RPG. You have to learn how it works. But I actually found it very easy to learn, and there's like a lot of depth to it. Like, you could like, especially in the full game where there's more creatures to capture and more attacks to unlock and more options. Like, each time you win a battle, like, you get some XP, and then it like lets you pick one of 3 items, or to not take one of the items and get 10 bottle caps. And I think that's the only real comparison I can make to Pokemon, where you spend bottle caps to get something, and Pokemon does that as well. But the bottle caps are for the vending machine, I think. So. Cool. Oh, the potions are sodas. The potions are sodas. That's what that was.
Cute.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Ekamy.
Cool.
I should not have done
I'm on
a deep
it.
voice on this great podcast. I'm dysphoric about my voice. Let's do the deepest voice possible.
Okay, so the third game that I played is called Nova Hearts, and I have mentioned this on the podcast before, but I was very excited to play the demo. So this comes from Lightbulb Crew, as I mentioned, and as a brief little summary, on Steam, it says that a mysterious force of power transforms you and other highly attractive people in your area into superheroes and villains. Text, date, and fight your friends and enemies alike. So it is.
I'm already sold.
It was so good. I really liked the demo. So, the game kind of opens up where, you know, you play as this character named Luce, who's just moved back in to a town where she grew up in, where her mom is. I'm thinking maybe her parents separated at some point. I don't know. 'Cause she still talks with her dad over text, but she's like, I made it here. Hi, Dad. And the game is primarily like the whole, much of the gameplay aside from the combat is based around like text conversations, if not like in-person conversations with characters. And so when she moves back, she's kind of had a rough go with school, but she's like running into a bunch of old friends and reconnecting with them. And then at the first night of the demo, there's going to be like a big party, and that party has it's the same night that the party happens is when a comet shower is taking place, and if you look up at the right time, you'll see like sparkles of little bits from the comet just in the sky. And as a result, when they're at that party, something happens relating to the comet, and they get superpowers, and they have a whole like magical girl transformation. It's great. If you're a fan of like anime, it's very Sailor Moon. Like it's really Sailor Moon, which was really fun. And it's not just Luce who transforms. Your two other like childhood friends also get a cool transformation sequence, and and they all have really cool and unique designs. Also different body types, which is really cool. So we have like Luce, which is kind of like the middle ground. Like she's maybe a little on the skinnier side, and she's like, you know, mid-height. You've got the taller, a little more darker skinned character. Who's I remember their superhero name. The superhero name is Chaos. But they get like that. A cool and they get like a cool sword and like a mask and all that. And then the third friend is Will, whose I think superhero name is Wish, and she's like a little bit more of like maybe a shorter, maybe rounder girl, and she's like so sassy, and I love her. And anyway, it's just like some nice representation. In terms of the queerness too. That more so comes from the dating sim elements of that, as well as there are characters like Chaos. I'm so sad I can't remember their like first name from the demo, but anyway, Chaos uses they them pronouns, and it's kind of cool when you meet them too, because like I think it's that when you meet them they say
CJ.
CJ, thank you. It is, yes. So CJ says like, hey, they, them, and then like there's a little bit of dialogue where it seems like yes, Luce knew CJ, but CJ before they took those pronouns, so it's a different CJ for Luce, and you can react like in a bunch of different options, and then CJ goes, yep, you know, pronouns they, them, sometimes I'm feeling more she, you know, and it's kind of cool, like they differentiate that, which to be honest I haven't seen in a lot of games, like when they have characters with they, them pronouns, where they're like, I'm feeling a little bit more feminine today, or maybe a little more masculine, feeling more he today, you know, right? So it was nice to see. And then the dating sim elements are that the characters are, as far as I could tell from the demo, a bit player sexual. Luce herself is at the very least bi. I don't know, she might be pan, but there is like a little line of dialogue between like, oh, she had a girlfriend at a point, and she's also her first kiss was with a boy, and so she like doesn't really have a preference between the two. And so you can romance characters, you can choose to just be friends with characters, you can make characters hate you. And they kind of have a point system for each. So like you have a little app on your phone that measures like, oh, here's a kind of like a branching tree of all of your different relationships, and Luce is in the middle. And then if you go to each one, the app is like an astrology app. So like when you go into each character, it gives you like, hey, here's a bunch of hearts because you wanted to, like, you chose some romance options with them. And then it'll give you like a description of your relationship, like, oh, sparks are flying between you or something, right? But if you're more friends, then you're like, you are powerful and you will support one another or something like that. And like the symbol is a star and things like that. Yeah, the combat is very much like, if anyone's ever played Chris Tales, it's a little bit like that, where you have, it's turn-based, so you select your attack, and it's based on a, like when characters attacked is determined by a little bar at the bottom. So depending on your attack, you could go earlier than enemies or later than enemies. And sometimes that's strategic because if you go later than enemies, sometimes that means that another character can combo with you and then you can do more damage at the risk of the enemies going first. So that, I think the combat took me a little bit of time to wrap my head around because it wasn't like, there's not a lot of like bright indicators of like, this is your attack. It's just kind of like, oh, right, this is what I'm doing. So it took me a couple times to get, but then I was like, cool, I'm into this. I like it. I will say, without spoiling, like, well, I don't really know if it was like a spoiler for like who the character is, because I think I know who it is, but they don't actually say it in the demo. If all of that sounds great to you, on top of that, this is also a game that furries will like. And that's all I'm going to say.
I saw the shadow of what looked like implied villains, and I was like, are furries the villains? What's going on here?
So, but there is like a story with that, but and the demo doesn't go too much into it, but it's pretty heavily implied that I know who it is. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, I really liked it. The music is great. The animations are gorgeous. Like the cinematics are really nice. And there's also a mystery with like, Luce is also texting someone whose name is a bunch of symbols and numbers, and it's like they don't exist, or like it's like an imaginary person. No one can see who Luce is texting. Like it's just blank if they look at her phone, but if she's looking at her phone, she can see this person and like texting. Anyway, so that's like an interesting little bit of mystery. The last thing I wanted to mention, which I quite liked about this demo, was that you can decide, based on your choices, you can decide how you want Luce's story to go in terms of her own relationships with people. So like when you start and you're talking with your dad, you have like 3 options where like you're texting him and you could be like, love you, Dad, trip was rough, but I'm happy I'm here. Or like, you could be silent and just not respond to him, or you could just like straight up just be like, I don't want to talk to you, leave me alone. So you could like make something happen to imply that she doesn't have a good relationship with her dad, and then the game will attune to that or adjust to that choice. There's also a couple other characters who like, I think there's one of the romanceable character. I think the romanceable, they had like each character has like an intro that seems to be like, you can romance them kind of thing. I'll wave my hand as I say that. So this one character has that, but it's I felt kind of bad because like, I was like, oh, like that's cool. I can romance them. But CJ has a crush on them. And, the character's a barista. The barista didn't respond like to CJ's, I guess, like flirty advances at some point because the barista's straight. So I was like, oh no, so I can romance him because I'm a girl, So I felt kind of bad. But I think it'll be really cool. The demo is up. The game is coming out really soon too. It's coming out like, I'm just going to check really quick. June 19th is the date that it's coming out. And there's also, I learned, a chapter 1 or kind of like a chapter 0 of the game, which you can play for free as well. I think it actually released before the demo did. I think it was like a year ago. They just put it up to say, hey, this is the game we're going to make. Here's a taste. So you can try both the demo and chapter 1 if you want. I haven't tried chapter 1, but I really enjoyed the demo.
Okay, so the third demo I played was Quantum Witch, by again, what is
2
this?
thumbs up.
We've all played this.
2 thumbs
right?
up. Yeah.
It's like 6-point font. I did. Okay, yeah. I was like, I think I've heard both of you talk about this game actually.
Yeah.
But now it's my turn to play it. But there's something about demos that make me feel invincible, and I make all of the choices I wouldn't make if I was sitting down to play the full game, which was great, which was really fun to do for this one. And before I get like into it, it gives a content warning at the beginning. I love it. It's this game contains depictions of abuse of power and religious trauma inspired by real life experiences, and then it gets a little bit, it adds a little more meat to it. But again, love that. Everyone's informed. Everyone like fully consents to the experience they're about to have. Great. In that, it mentioned something about cult-related abuse, and I was like, okay, there's going to be cults here. Interesting. And what is fascinating is almost immediately you start playing the game, and it has a almost meditative vibe to it. I'm not going to use the right words. I'm a little tired, but it's very relaxing. It's very classic fantasy. I keep using side scroller. I don't know if it counts for this one, but one thing that I thought was really cool about the art was it had these horizontal stripings in your character model and in the background that looks very retro, looks very
like a CRT filter.
Yeah, thank you. It has that, but they added almost a 3-dimensional layer to it so that it's got that filter to it, but it's also has some like this implications of a light source, so it's not as flat as it could look. And I was just like really moved by several lines, but I thought it was really effective how they did that. Some accessibility, there's an option to reduce flashing effects, which I thought was really cool, and it's controller compatible, which is awesome. Let's see. Already went on about the lines. Oh, when you open up into, like, you wake up after the dream sequence that teaches you how to walk and jump and stuff, someone leaves a note, and it's, "You overslept and I couldn't wait any longer." And for some reason, that line was so cozy. I couldn't tell you a single other game that uses it, but that is one of my favorite, like, not overused, but it just like sets the tone for me, and it like went with all of the other retro vibes of the game. And let's see, I'm not gonna get too much into what happens, but I went and found the cult immediately because I was fearless, and I was like, this is a demo, I'm gonna go fight him.
1v1 me.
Well, it was 1v12, but yeah.
And it was really, like, not to minimize, but it was a little funny. It had like some humor to it. The mix of the nonsense of some of the dialogue and everything with a higher character response, and just like some of the, and I felt like I had a lot of agency over what the character did, and it was just, the outcome was, it was weird how whimsical something so serious was. And the game has these things called waveforms, which when I was first booting up the game and going through the options, I had no idea what that was about. It said some of them had descriptions, some of them were question marks, and I didn't get it until I played it the first time and I had unlocked a few of them. So they were in-game sort of achievements. And I like it when they're in the game, because I don't know if it's because nowadays there's so many different platforms to play games on, but when they're not in the game, it kind of feels a little separated to me. Like Xbox Game Pass has their own thing, Steam has their own thing, and maybe this game does have their own, platform specific ones, but just having them in the game where you can see them is kind of cool.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Quantum Witch. I have a review code given to me by the developer, and I will be reviewing it a little bit after. June's been very busy, so I'll be reviewing it a little bit after it releases, but it comes out on June 24th. And on June 23rd, I think I'm getting my dates right. The Tuesday it comes out is the 24th. The 23rd, we're going to release an interview that's already been recorded with the developer. She's super amazing. She gave us a great in-depth interview. So I'm really excited to get that to everyone so people can hear about this game, and people need to go play it because I think it's something really special. I don't know about the mainstream audience because the mainstream audience is the mainstream audience, but this is something we're going to be talking about all year, I think, on the podcast, and maybe forever, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we are way over time from what I was planning, so I'm just going to quickly go through the last game on my list. And I mentioned a game about Dracula last week, and I was like, I don't know how to pronounce this, Draculaesti. I looked it up, and I think it's Drăculești. I think. I'm still not sure about the A with the accent on it, like the little smiley face, but I know the S is a sh sound. So Drăculești. And this game is gay Dracula. It's a visual novel. I didn't even finish the demo. The demo was really long. Like, I got to 90 minutes in and I still wasn't through it all. And there's so many different paths you could take in the demo. There's so many branching paths. And so basically, you are Renfield. And you are the 1931 movie version of Renfield, who is a lawyer who's coming to settle Dracula's estate as he's trying to move from Transylvania to London. And so you're staying there, and you're kind of into him, but you're kind of like not really sure as you play as Renfield. And there's a lot of gay vibes.
Nice.
But you're not really sure what the fuck is going on until you discover that he's a vampire, and then suddenly, like, Dracula's like, well, here's my coffin, like, you know? And Renfield's kind of like, you're making choices internally as Renfield, this internal monologue, and he's like, do I want to go in the coffin with him? Do I want to go in a coffin at all? Like, what do I want here? Yeah. Right? So I'm not going to spoil Dracula too much. I'm not as familiar with the story of Dracula either, so I had to look a lot of this up, but in the original book, Renfield is kind of just like in an insane asylum, and I say that like, I know that's like ableism right there, and I try not to use the word insane, but I think like in the classic sense of like when they put people in like straitjackets and put them in locked rooms and took them away from the world, like that's the kind of asylum I'm talking about. So anyway, that's not this. This Renfield is like perfectly well adjusted, you know, he's like, and I think it's not confirmed, but I think he's a trans man as well. Because he talks about, you know, leaving home and, like, rejecting family, and, like, he definitely says he's a homosexual. Like, he straight up says, like, I wonder if Dracula's into homosexuality. And at one point, too, Ekamy, you're gonna love this, but before Renfield knows that Dracula's a vampire, Dracula's trying to explain why he doesn't eat any of the food they're serving to him, like, all the desserts. Yeah. And he's like, oh, we're all celiacs.
Fuck yeah, that's great! Nice!
It's very clever, it's very funny, lots of blood puns, and it's very sexy. Like, it's super sexy.
Oh my gosh, it looks
you've convinced me. I'm gonna look it up.
I'm glad there's a couple of games here where we're talking about trans men, because I'm pretty sure Renfield is a trans man in this story. I don't remember the specific lines that he said, where I was like, oh, maybe, but there was definitely like a couple lines where I was like, oh, I think they're implying here that he's a trans man. And I assume there's probably gonna be some sexual content later on. I don't know if it's in the demo. I don't know if it's going to be in the full game. The game isn't done yet. They're about to launch a Kickstarter. So look out for that. I think it's launching sometime this month, but they haven't given a date. They haven't said yet. But yeah, it's very, what they've already developed is very, I think they're planning to add voice acting and more content, obviously. But like what's there already is gorgeous and really well written too. Like very, very well written. And I think you'll both love this game. Oh
yeah, I'm going to wishlist it after.
And I'm like stopping myself from gushing. I love Dracula. I read it on stream a while ago. Cool. I know way too much about Dracula, and this is Yaoi Dracula, and I'm like losing my shit. So this looks really good.
Nice.
I can't think of too many games where there's like a trans man protagonist, and maybe that's my own like bias, where I just haven't played them, or I haven't come across them, or I don't relate to those stories. But yeah, discovering that this was the case, I knew it was LGBTQ+, but I was just figured it was like bisexual Dracula game. And to be honest, Renfield could be bisexual, but he specifically used the word homosexuality when talking about Dracula. But he could be bisexual because also Dracula's got his 3 like princesses that are kind of like moody and bitchy wandering around the castle. I was like, maybe there's something there as well. I don't know, but yeah, so.
Cool.
I love classics that do a twist where the main character is a trans man. I recently read Most Ardently, which is a remake of Pride and Prejudice, and the rewriting was really excellently done. So if anyone's a fan of classics with some trans twists or representations, I recommend that too. But you're giving me very similar vibes.
Cool.
All right, and we have one last demo that wasn't really... There's a demo available. Ekamy has not played the demo, but Ekamy has helped give feedback on the game that became this demo. And it's a game we've talked about before. We've interviewed Endelian of Zorky Studios on the show, but this game is Quality Dreams reasonably priced, and it has a brand new demo as part of Steam Next Fest with extra features and extra content added on to the previous demo, plus bug fixes.
Yeah, they have some really cool features from the playtest that I did. And honestly, my version of it is like, it's good. Whatever the demo is out now is going to be newer than what I played, because obviously I was just helping out with the playtest. But there's some cool upselling features you'll see that are, if you've played the original demo, that'll be like a big difference from the original demo. They've added some new character art, backdrops, new art there, and I think a couple new dialogue options as well, if I recall. So, and a new opening. I know there's a new opening to the demo, so I am excited to play it. I just have not gotten around to it yet.
Nice. I follow Zorky Studios on TikTok, and they've got a few things that they're previewing from this newest demo too, if anyone's interested in following them there.
Nice.
They make, I think it's Endy that makes the content for the TikToks and YouTube, and they do a great job, a really great job. So.
Nice. I've seen some meme posts that they've done like based on the game. So funny. I love it.
And I think this is another game we're going to be talking about a lot, because it's got queerness like down to its very core of its, like the DNA is very queer. So.
I'm so excited for this game. I think, I can't remember, when is it slated for release? I think
Q3 as of right now.
Okay, fair. Cool.
Let me double check to see if that's still the case on the page here. Oh no, there's a release date, kind of. There's a month now.
Ooh.
They've listed a month. It's August 2025.
Oh, that's so soon.
This is
so
actually
exciting.
really good, because we're planning to maybe have Endelian back on the show.
Perfect.
And so that's good to know that I'm like, okay, August, plan for that. Because summer's going to be much quieter for the podcast. We're still going to have weekly episodes, but it'll be a lot quieter because it's summer. And also June was just wildly busy. Like
wild.
I'm a zombie now.
A tornado of showcases and announcements.
Yeah, and I didn't even cover everything on the weekend. I still have one or two more showcases. I actually found out there were more that I missed completely. Oh, so we'll see. I might kind of like trickle through them over the next month, just so every game kind of gets like, you're not bashed in the face with 200 new queer games. I want everyone to get its time in the sun. So
yeah.
Anyway, that is all the time we have. We have actually gone over quite a bit, so yeah, we're almost at an hour. That's okay though. We had lots to talk about. We got through every demo and we talked about them in a good, nice, detailed way. So yeah, if any of these interest you, go play them. There's also, if you can filter, if you go under to the Steam Next Fest page, if you scroll down, there's like, you can filter by tags. And if you go under mood, that's where you can find LGBTQ+. And there's a ton of games. There's a few like, I want to call them smut, but that's like a very old fashioned way to say they're basically porn or hentai. Nothing wrong with that, but like, sometimes these games are like fetish sizing the queer experience, and they're not actually like a by queer people for queer people. So just keep that in mind when like, or maybe you don't want sexual content, so you can also filter that out. But there's like, I think taking away the sexual stuff, there's like, I think over 50 queer games that have brand new Steam Next Fest demos, plus a whole bunch of games from last week's podcast are also have demos that are just like all year round, like available demos that you can go check out. So if anything from last weekend interested you, go on the Steam page and see if there's a demo to play it, because a lot of great queer games, a lot of great stuff happening right now. So yeah. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Happy to
Where
talk
can people
about
find
it.
you?
Lloyd, go.
I stream on Twitch. I realize I don't think I've ever said that. Maybe I did my first episode, but I stream on Twitch as Lloyd_Lloydster, and you can also find me on TikTok and Blue Sky. You might find remnants of me on Meta, but who knows how long I'll last there. You can find me on those other platforms.
Nice. And I'm Ekamy on Twitch and YouTube. You can also find me on Blue Sky and Instagram.
And don't forget to subscribe and shit to True Avatars.
Yeah! Hit that bell!
Hit that bell. All right. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.